Thank you so much to all of you for showing up for this. Thank you to the Harvard group for having me. Thank you to Aline, Avalon, Jessica for doing all that you can to promote this, and for your outreach on campus this last year. The Harvard group for Vegan Outreach distributed over 2,000 booklets in the last year alone, reaching 2,000 individuals who otherwise wouldn't have known about the treatment of today's farm animals. So if we could give a quick round of applause for them, that would be great. So there are many ways to make an impact for animals. My particular route is the simple act of leafleting, which is what Vegan Outreach does. We take booklets, we go to areas where there are likely to be receptive folks, and we simply give them our booklets. There are many reasons to leaflet. The three most obvious are that it is sexy, that it allows us to live large and flaunt our leaflets, and that it's given me the opportunity to mingle with celebrities. But we also do it because it gives us the great opportunity to reduce a great amount of animal suffering and really push the ball forward for a very important cause. The simple act of distributing booklets has played a very significant role in pushing forward other social movements in the past. This is example, Thomas Paine's Common Sense played a role in the American Revolution. Anti-slavery literature was distributed that eventually got African Americans, that abolished slavery in the U.S. It was used to get women the right to vote, and of course it let us all know about the communistic threat of the Beatles. Often mainstream media will not cover certain views, and so it's the goal and the objective of those who have a certain view, a certain information to get out, that certain information that's not being covered by mainstream media, to articulate this and get it out to as many people as possible. Vegan Outreach has used the act of leafleting, the dissemination of literature, and that is essentially what we do. We've been distributing these booklets since 1993, and in the early years we were handing them out 10, 20, 30,000 booklets per year. We started ramping up our efforts in the 2000s. We were handing them out by the hundreds of thousands. 2006 was the first year that we distributed over 1 million booklets in a single year. 2008 was the first year that we distributed over 2 million booklets, and recently we distributed our 11 millionth booklet since the founding of our organization. Over 500 of these have been skateboard handoffs. Vegan Outreach operates on the assumption that when we choose to do one thing, we are choosing not to do another thing. Therefore, we want to make sure that we choose our activities as wisely as possible. If you're investing in, say, stocks, you want to invest in those that will give you the most amount of profit. That's your sole objective. As animal activists, we should be involved in activities that reduce as much animal suffering as possible. We focus on farm animals because out of all the animals raised and killed in the U.S., about 98 to 99% of them are farm animals, with about 1 to 2% being animals raised in labs for fur, in shelters, for entertainment, etc. Now, if these animals led good lives, that would lead us to focus our attention on the other animals. But as we know, today's farmed animals lead anything but good lives. Millions actually suffer to death before actually reaching the slaughterhouse. The nice thing about vegetarian advocacy is that you don't need to do anything dramatic. All you need to do is get some booklets, go out to an area high in foot traffic, and it's very likely that in a matter of an hour or two, you are likely to win over quite a few receptive individuals. Each vegetarian or vegan spares about 30 to 35 birds and mammals from a lifetime of suffering each year. So each person we get on board, each person who goes vegetarian or vegan, this is a very significant victory for animals. So while each person is substantial, the more and more people we get on board, the more and more good we do for animals. We can really exponentially increase the amount of good we do for animals. Vegan Outreach's primary function is to distribute booklets on college campuses. In the United States, we hit pretty much all 50 states every semester since the inception of our program, which reaches college students with our booklets. In 2003, we've reached 4 million college students at over 2,000 schools across the country. We focus on college students because they are in the time of their lives when they're really questioning the status quo and willing to try new things, such as this octopus. And they no longer live with their parents. They can cook their own meals. They can. They're questioning of the status quo. They're even rebellious of the status quo. They're in the time of their lives when they're really going to think differently. Also, if we reach somebody at age, say age 18, 19, 20, 21, they've got many years ahead of them to make an impact. They've got many years of purchasing power, many years to influence their friends, family members, their colleagues. So we really think that when trying to change minds, it makes sense to focus on the youth. Work like this can often seem intangible, that we're just handing somebody a booklet, that people are not really listening, that say somebody's going to take a booklet and either throw it away or put it in the recycling bin. But what we find with Vegan Outreach, the nice thing about my job is that I get to see a lot of the feedback that comes in. It's pretty much every day that we've got somebody writing to us to say that they've been moved by this. 1993, Matt Ball, who's now Executive Director for Vegan Outreach at the time, was President for the Students for Animal Rights at the University of Illinois. He had 2 hours of free time on his hands. He decided to go out to the student union, set up an information table, distribute booklets with a TV monitor showing factory farming images. Up comes the son of a dairy farmer. The son of a dairy farmer is irate that Matt would be promoting information that advocates that we eliminate our consumption of dairy, meat, and eggs. Son of a dairy farmer starts yelling at Matt. Matt responds in a calm, considerate manner. They're going back and forth. Up comes a second individual. His uncle's in the dairy industry. He's intrigued by this, but he's also impressed by Matt's calm disposition. He listens, he takes information, he goes back home, he eventually goes vegetarian. Vegan, joins the Student for Animal Rights group. This individual was the man pictured here, Joe Espinoza. Joe is a social worker now in Chicago, treating heroin addicts at a methadone clinic. Like many of us who are working, not in school, Joe gets 2 days off every week. For the past 6 years, he's used one of these days off to go to a college campus week after week in the Midwest and distribute our materials. In the past 6 years, he, as a volunteer, has distributed over 200,000 booklets directly to individuals, and we're hearing pretty much weekly from individuals who have been moved by Joe's work. So the moral of the story is that by Matt deciding to use those 2 hours that day, he created a gold mine for animals named Joe Espinoza, who continues to give and give and give and give. Brian Gruppe was Brian Gruppe, the individual who got Aline to go vegan, by the way. He was at Sacramento State University 3 years ago. He received one of our booklets. Even if you like meat, he thought, yes, I can cut my meat consumption down. He went vegetarian, vegan. Now he's a full-time employee for Vegan Outreach, and I think now he's handed out about 200,000 booklets. Again, because somebody deciding to get out and do this work, he created another activist. Every week, Vegan Outreach receives a couple hundred vegetarian starter pack requests, and a lot of these are coming from individuals who received a booklet on college campus. This is the type of feedback we receive. Today I received your booklet in Seattle and decided on the spot to be vegan. Thank you. Skip to the bottom. About 2 years ago, your booklet started me down the path of re-examining my food choices. Now I'm a vegetarian. Thank you. Please know that your booklets do work. So for those of you who do think that this is work that you would like to do, and this is even if you're not going to leaflet, some key tips in my opinion. Well, first off, with leafleting, all you need to do is send me an email. John, send me booklets. We send you booklets. You go out to an area high in foot traffic and you distribute them. I like to say, hello, info to help animals, and most people are either going to take a booklet, say thank you, or not take a booklet and say no thank you. Most people are on their way to somewhere. They don't want to get in some long debate. They don't want to grill you with a lot of questions. So this is simply a numbers game, and we want to get this into the hands of as many people as possible. We're always going to win over more people when we are friendly. Nobody sees somebody who's sullen and self-righteous and says, hey, I want to be like them. Rather, we tend to be influenced by those who are upbeat, who are positive, who are not terribly judgmental of us. This is our New York City Outreach Coordinator, Eileen Body, and she warded off being attacked by this monster butterfly with her people skills. This is somebody I'm not actively recruiting for vegan outreach. If you're on a publicly funded campus, you have a First Amendment right, or you should have a First Amendment right, to be doing this work. If you ever have any hassles, we have a pro bono attorney who works on these issues, and we can most likely get you back on campus. If you're at a privately funded school, they can ask you to leave. If that's the case, contact us and we'll see if we can get you access again. If you're on a public sidewalk, that's pretty much black and white. You have a First Amendment right to be there. For those of you who think that this is work that you might not really be interested in, or that you're shy, you don't have a lot of time to do this work, and you are like this cat who has the money but are not quite sure what to do with it, you can keep in mind that groups like Vegan Outreach are only able to exist because of people who have full-time jobs and send money our way. Martin Luther King Jr. said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but that it bends towards justice. That is, that change is often slow and painful and piecemeal, but if enough people are working for it, change is pretty much inevitable. Leafleting is work that needs to be done, and we would be absolutely thrilled if any of you were to take part in this work. Each one of us can play a very big role in reducing animal suffering and really pushing the ball forward, pushing the arc of the moral universe closer towards justice for animals. Thank you very much for your time, and we will now get to question and answer.